Hi, so today I'm doing some video work from the seafront in Torquay, where I am for the day, and that makes a change from bricks and breakwater and the back garden, so I'm making use of a different backdrop. And today the video I wanted to do was I am an autistic theatre director. Okay, so I've written my notes down, so I will be looking down quite a lot, and I apologise if my phone moves because it's all currently propped up in my bag, and that's moved beautifully, hasn't it? Okay, so I've been directing since 2000, that includes student filming and that sort of thing. I've been acting since 1996, and in 2005 I founded my own theatre company which specialises in adaptations of classical literature, mythology, researched history, that sort of thing, which has won multiple national and international theatre awards. I'm also one of 4 theatre directors nationally on Equity's Directors and Designers Committee, which is all about working to inform best practice to improve working conditions for theatre creatives nationally around the UK. Now, being autistic and not always masking it very well, I have to say, means of course that people come up with stereotypes. Now, it's the usual sort of stereotypes, that you're probably not very capable, that your special needs just having a go, having a try, and probably not very good at it, that there's no way you can possibly be a professional, that you have major learning difficulties, meaning you can't do lots of things. And so you get a lot of assumptions from that about the quality of the show. That's if an audience person knows you're an autistic director. It can also affect actors or theatre crew working with you. Again, they might have preconceptions knowing that you're autistic. This can, as a result, make it a lot harder to recruit actors and crew. It can make it a lot harder to get audiences to come in and see, which is a real pain in the bum, because the shows are of equal, as I've already said, national, international quality, and because we don't get a lot of funding, because one of the issues with autism sometimes can be communication, so I'm not very wonderful at successfully filling out grant applications, though I keep trying. We rely on ticket sales to pay the actors and crew, so it's really important to reach audiences very well. So there'll be a lot of assumptions sometimes about the quality of the show, or that it'll be really weird and off the wall, made by somebody without a lot of understanding, or that you as an autistic person will be difficult to work with, and none of that's the case. You will also sometimes, and I have experienced this multiple times as well over the years, you'll get people see you and your work, your theatre company in my case, as a soft touch for scams, intimidation, undermining, trying to take over projects instead of going and making their own, which they could do. So you've also got to be very much on your guard against that sort of assumption. There are then, so this sounds like a real complaint, doesn't it? There are then also assumptions of inability, which is normally well-meaning people who do mean really, really well, who will try and take over everything without asking, and then it can all go a bit wrong, especially if they don't have the skills or the knowledge of the work. On the flip side, there are a lot of benefits to being an autistic theatre maker. That means that very often we have observed other people's behaviour, mannerisms, social conventions, so that we fit in with society. That can be really useful when you're directing actors on stage, and it's not usually a cut and paste job either, with creating characterizations, because I like to work with all the actors and the creatives to their strengths and bring their strengths into the characterizations, but because of spending all my life obviously observing mannerisms and behavior and that to fit in, that means that I've got a lot of extra observations to bring into my directing. Us autistic people also tend to have a lot of attention to detail and very strong interests. Now, in my case, theatre is my super strong interest, which means that I live and breathe it. So it means there's a lot of focus, a lot of hard work and keeping to time, and even sort of overwork. I'm well known to carry on till 2-3 in the morning quite easily working on theatre things. My most common challenges, other than the ones I've already whinged about, are in rehearsals to cope with loud backstage social chat. Now, in a lot of professional theatre, people will come in, to sort of sit down quietly with your script, focus on what you're doing. But in an area where we have a lot of people who are not coming from a professional background and working with us professionally for the first time, they'll come in and there'll be lots of loud social chat about, have you had a cup of tea? I went to the pub yesterday, or what was on TV? And that can get really distracting. The same thing as sometimes while the crew and I are setting things up for rehearsals, somebody else will be coming in and listening to some really loud pop music as a video on their phone, and that is incredibly distracting. Like a lot of autistic people, I have sensory and auditory processing disorders, which means that we can't focus, we can't work with all those extra distractions going on. Most of the time, 99.9% of the time, the casts and crew really understand when I explain. Things do slip, but then when I remind them, they're very much like, oh yes, no worries, and it's all sorted out. The worst experience I ever had was actually on tour earlier this year. We were packing down at a theatre venue, and the venue staff decided to play super loud techno music with the theatre speakers turned up as loud as they'd go while I was leading the pack down, and in all honesty it was nearly impossible to cope. I did, simply because my stage manager understood why I had to leave the space. Sadly, unfortunately, because of that, I don't actually feel confident about taking another show back there. But at the same time, I must admit I hadn't informed the venue staff that I'm autistic with auditory processing disorder, so they weren't to know. They thought they were being super jolly as we packed down. So there are loads of aspects and things to consider as an autistic theatre maker, and everyone's experiences will be very different. But seriously, what I really want to say is, if you haven't worked with or seen a show led by an autistic person, then please put aside stereotyping and sort of ableist assumptions, and give us the same chance as you'd give any other professional, and the chances are you will be very pleasantly surprised. Now, there are millions of different things that I could talk about as an autistic theatre maker, and different issues, situations and things come up every single day. What I'd be really interested in as a sequel to this video is to hear from other people, both other autistic theatre makers, about what their experiences have been. Maybe send me a video that I can include in a sequel to this. And also, if you've never worked with an autistic theatre maker and maybe you've had questions that you haven't felt comfortable about asking, please send those to me as well, because I would love to do a video looking at neurotypical people's assumptions and questions about working with an autistic person in charge, and let's see what some of the things are correct and what some of the things are misconceptions, and hopefully make it all a much more comfortable experience. So anyway, thank you for watching. I am at the beach, so there's lots of people loudly talking and there are the waves going, and then I've got to go to an appointment in a minute. But thank you for watching, hope you enjoy, and I'll see you again soon.